What's up everyone, it's Melonie Mac here, and today I'm going to address possibly my most commonly asked question as of late, and that is, what do I think about the upcoming Tomb Raider movie? So now that we've gotten some new pictures and a synopsis for the movie, I feel like it's time for me to address this and talk about this. Now bear with me because I can talk about all things Tomb Raider for a very extended period of time, so I'm going to try to streamline this and stay focused. So let's go. So first I gotta clear up something that I think is kind of funny, but to those who are not particularly knowledgeable about the Tomb Raider franchise, it actually came as a surprise to many people that, wait a minute, this isn't a continuation of the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider franchise? And it's like, no, that has been dead in the water for a very long time, and it has been made very clear this is an entirely new production, and it is going to closer follow the rebooted Tomb Raider franchise. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go. I think most people are going to talk off the bat about Alicia Vikander and what they think about how she will portray Lara, and I made it very clear on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff that I think she is going to be a phenomenal Lara, and I think that they really picked an actress who is exceptionally talented at acting, as she should be, but somebody who is going to be able to portray the character kind of in looks, even though a lot of people argue that she doesn't totally look like the new Lara. But then again, how are you going to find somebody who looks exactly like a video game character? You know, that doesn't happen. But I think that the resemblance is close enough in body type and in you know, she's smaller and more, I guess, agile and frisky. Well, I don't even know what I'm saying, man. But anyway, yeah, I feel like that is more fitting toward the rebooted Lara. And so I think that her look is really great, and I think that she also has the talent to really pull off an amazing performance. So I was really impressed by the set pictures that they released before, which I'm pretty sure those were leaked, and then now the newer pictures that are official. And the thing that really stands out to me the most is that she has confidence, and I can appreciate that, because that is one of the biggest complaints that some of us fans who have been with the series since day one, some of our biggest complaints is that in the newer games, Lara lacks this confidence, and Lara has always been such an empowering and strong character, and in the newer games, they showcased more of her vulnerability than her strength. Not to say that we don't see any strength from her, because we do in the newer games, but it seems like the emphasis is stronger on vulnerability. So that's kind of a balance that I've had a problem with at the games. And then something else I need to clarify while I nitpick here is that I'm going to mention a lot of things and a lot of problems that I have with some of the games, but that doesn't mean by any means that I don't like them. I actually think that they're phenomenal, and Rise of the Tomb Raider especially, I feel like, was fantastic, an amazing game. But being the hardcore fan that I am, I have a lot of things that I can nitpick about absolutely everything. So that is what this is going to be. So having that said, going back to what I was saying about Lara's vulnerabilities and her strengths, I feel like the biggest problem with the current games is that they kind of overcompensated, and I feel like they wanted to portray a more vulnerable Lara, because in the past we just saw this superhero-like character and all of her strengths, but we didn't see as much of her vulnerable side. So she, as they said, felt more like a Teflon Lara, you know, Ice Queen Lara. And so this way she was just more humanized, and I can appreciate that in a way, but I think that they totally overcompensated for it, to where the balance is that we see a vulnerable Lara and then her strength is a rarity, where it should have been her strength and her rebelliousness that she's always had. That should have been the main focus, and then her vulnerability should have been more of the rarity that we see, because then it makes it that much more impactful, and it makes it that much more, I guess, special, that, hey, we're seeing this side of Lara, this is special, this is great. But at this point, we're currently surprised to see the stronger side of Lara. It's opposite. It's opposite of what it should be, in my opinion. So that's definitely a big concern of mine, and judging by the synopsis and also the pictures and everything that we have from this movie, I feel like they are addressing this in the proper way. They have made it clear that we will be seeing a vulnerable side of Lara, but I think that they're gonna have that balance. Let me go ahead and just read the synopsis for you guys because I don't want anything to get lost in my translation. It says, Lara Croft is the fiercely independent daughter of an eccentric adventurer who vanished when she was scarcely a teen. Now, first of all, from this, I love that they describe her as fiercely independent. So it just shows right off the bat with their synopsis that they are letting us know, like, dude, she's gonna be freaking badass. And that is the most important part, man. Lara's empowering, and Lara was my hero ever since I was a kid because of her strength. So that is the most important part for them to be able to portray, is her fierce independence, and they right off the bat, like, really cleared that up for me. So that was comforting for me, and I can appreciate that. So now it says, now a young woman of 21 without any real focus or purpose, Lara navigates the chaotic streets of trendy East London as a bike courier, barely making the rent, and takes college courses, rarely making it to class. Determined to forge her own path, she refuses to take the reins of her father's global empire, just as staunchly as she rejects the idea that he's truly gone. Now, what I really like about this description is that they've made some changes in the reboot era. They've made Lara a bartender, and I never really had an issue with that, but it never seemed like Lara would choose that job, you know, because while she is more down to earth these days, and it seems like something in a way that she could take on because she's not into the upper class life, Lara's more of a loner, and so I don't really see the bartender life, staying indoors, being around a crowd of people all the time. It just didn't really make sense to me that she would choose that path, but I was still fine with it. Now, this is a nice change, making her a bike courier, because first of all, she's going to be outdoors and she's going to be riding her bicycle a lot. She stays active, and this makes so much sense for Lara. It's still an entry-level job that isn't like super fancy or anything, and she's barely making her rent, and so it is like that humble beginnings type thing that they were going for. But what really makes it stand out is that it fits her character. Her character is active. Her character likes to be outdoors. So I think that that is so much more fitting. So that's really cool. And so then the next part says, advised to face the facts and move forward after 7 years without her father, even Lara can't understand what drives her to finally solve the puzzle of his mysterious death. So then it says, going explicitly against his final wishes, she leaves everything she knows behind in search of her dad's last known destination, a fabled tomb on a mythical island that might be somewhere off the coast of Japan. Okay, now, talking about this, I think it's really cool that they found a like happy medium between the classics and the reboot, in my opinion. A lot of problems that I personally had, and then a lot of classic fans had, was that there was too much of a focus on Lara's dad, and it was just, she was portrayed as a daddy's girl, kind of, I guess you could say. And that completely detracted a lot from her strength and her independence. Not that a daddy's girl can't be strong and independent, but when you go from the old canon of where Lara decides this adventuring lifestyle instead of the upper class life, and as a result gets disowned by her parents, but still further pursues this anyway because she don't care, you know, like that made her so strong and independent. And then whenever they changed that for the reboot and Lara was simply following in her father's footsteps, it definitely made things disappointing, and it definitely felt a little disempowering. So this is kind of that happy medium that even though she is in a way following her father's footsteps by taking a similar path, she is going against his will on this. He instructed her not to do this, like his final thoughts and words and all of that, like this is, he was vehemently against this. And so knowing that, it's like that balance of, okay, she rebelled against what her dad wanted, but she's still doing what he does, which it's fine. It's a perfect balance, I think. And now it says, but her mission will not be an easy one. Just reaching the island will be extremely treacherous. Suddenly, the stakes couldn't be higher for Lara, who, against the odds and armed with only her sharp mind, blind faith, and inherently stubborn spirits, must learn to push herself beyond her limits as she journeys into the unknown. if she survives this perilous adventure, it could be the making of her earning her name Tomb Raider. So I think this is pretty freaking great. I think this is pretty exciting for me as a longtime fan, and as somebody who did have major problems with the rebooted story. I feel like this is a totally better twist on it, and I'm really excited about it. So her being described as stubborn, I like that, because classic Lara was always so stubborn. She is fiercely independent, badass, stubborn, and it seems like they have really like emphasized that point, that that is her personality. So the heart of Lara appears to be within this Lara from the movie, which I really appreciate. I also like that they mention her sharp mind, because that is something that I've always admired about Lara, is her wit. And even in the rebooted games, she was able to use her mind, and that would get her out of certain situations. So again, they really took the strengths of that. Anything negatively, I would say, is following the daddy story. That's always a negative for me. I don't like it. I just don't. I like the classic canon in this regard much better, because I don't like the focus being Lara following her father's footsteps. I'm just not about that. But that being considered, like I said, I feel like the movie took what I didn't like about the daddy story with the reboot and made it more empowering for Lara, and that is the most important part. And I want to point out something that was during the marketing up to the rebooted game in 2013. There was a statement made. Now let me make sure I get this completely right so that I don't mince any words here. So Rosenberg said at E3, which must have been 2012, he made a statement while promoting the 2013 Tomb Raider game that when people play Lara, they don't really project themselves into the character, which I think is completely false, because growing up, that's something that I took so much inspiration from Lara. So whenever I would look at her on the screen, I would try to envision how that could be me, how I could be strong like her. So I definitely did feel a lot of that. And this is what he continues to say that really stood out for me in a negative way. He says, they're more like, I want to protect her. There's this sort of dynamic of, I'm going to this adventure with her and trying to protect her. And I'm like, that is the absolute biggest sin in Tomb Raider history, in my opinion. Not to say that it's like there's not some people who play the game who want to protect Lara. I'm sure there are. And you know what? That's okay. You know what? That's fine. But to specifically go for that and shoot for that while making the game, like, Lara has always been such an empowering character who doesn't need anybody. She can protect herself. She's a boss, you know? And so to go from that to actually promote the game of players are going to want to protect her, that's like freaking messed up, and that is the biggest sin that has ever been committed in Tomb Raider history, in my opinion. That being said, I think they really did much better with Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I don't think that they were going from that onward, and I think they've really wisened up with that. But that was definitely a huge, huge, massive issue that I had, and a very disappointing thing at that, and also a step backwards for female empowerment. I'm just gonna say, and I know all you anti-SJWs are gonna be all on my case for this, but whatever, you know? I'm just gonna put it out there. So that being said, all in all, I've made it pretty clear that I'm extremely excited for this movie, and going into all of this and my thoughts and all of this is I was extremely worried at first. Before I've seen anything, I was extremely worried, because I thought, you know, this is bringing Lara to the masses, and this is making her more mainstream again. And with that, I worry about portrayal of her character, because with her reaching a bigger audience, it is important to me that the audience sees Lara for who she is and who she has always been to me. And so that's why it was my fear that we were going to get a weaker Lara, and that we were going to get a Lara who was out to save Sam, who was a damsel in distress. Essentially a freaking damsel in distress in Tomb Raider 2013. This is why I have major issues with the rebooted story. Like, amazing game, but I had some massive problems with the story, because it just really took away a lot of Lara's power, and then it took away a lot of female empowerment in general, because, again, a damsel in distress, like, this is freaking we're supposed to be a generation that moves past that. Not that women don't ever need saving sometimes, because everybody needs saving sometimes, but still, this is something that we have seen time and time again, and it's time to quit that business. So yeah, the whole like saving Sam thing was just a nightmare. So not to say that Sam won't be in the new movie, because it hasn't been clarified. It just doesn't appear that she will be, and I hope that she won't. And if she is, I hope they make her awesome and strong and not somebody that needs saved. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I guess all in all, I'm really excited about this, and I think that what I've seen is a huge, massive relief. First of all, the casting choice, Alicia, is like, I can't think of anybody else I would rather have for the role. I think she is going to be flawless, and so that is really exciting. And then also the synopsis seems to be focused on a strong, independent, stubborn Lara, and I love it. It's like I feel like they get it. They get like the heart of Lara. And so even though this is a very canonically different, I don't even know if that's how you say it, but even though it steers very far from the original Tomb Raider canon, it takes the changes and it changes them in a way to where they still capture Lara's heart, and that we're still getting Lara. And a lot of us fans have felt like we haven't seen Lara in a very long time, because while the new games are great and they do a lot of things awesome and they do a lot of things right, and honestly, I have to say, I think that the direction, especially with Rise of the Tomb Raider, is the absolute best thing that Tomb Raider needed in terms of gameplay and Lara's design. It's ultimately, I feel like the stories and I feel like Lara's character portrayal were the biggest downfalls of the rebooted games. So this is exactly what we need, and this is exactly what we need to see our Lara again, and this is exactly what I hope they pull off like they're saying. So that's what I want to see, and I would love to see the current games kind of take inspiration from this, future games I should say. I want to see them take inspiration from this in terms of Lara's strength. And as I stated before, Lara's strength should be first, vulnerability should be second. Vulnerability should be something that we see, but it should be something that is special, and it should be something that isn't all the freaking time. Because first and foremost, Lara is a boss. Lara is fierce. Lara doesn't have to go through freaking 3 treacherous adventures to become a strong person. She was one before that. She was a rebel before that. She was a freaking stubborn, fiercely independent woman before that. And young teenage girl and everything. So that's the message that I hope this movie drives home, and that's something that I hope that future games can take inspiration from. So all in all, I'm extremely excited, but I'm curious to know what you guys think in the comments below, so let me know. But thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.